Royal asks Robert for the full story of the incident and apologizes as he explains that the building is still settling, so it still has some flaws. Robert has heard a rumor saying that floors 1 to 12 lost their power for several hours, but Royal pays it no mind. Instead, Royal asks Robert about his relationship with Charlotte, but when his rude comments make Robert angry, he quickly changes the subject to share a theory: the tenants have forced themselves into strict categories and hide behind luxuries. When Robert points out that Royal designed the building that way by keeping the upper class and the lower class residents separated, Royal defends his plan by saying that he designed the building to become a path to change, but he does admit that he must have missed something. Sometime later, the lower floor tenants complain about the lack of power, and when the caretaker says it's their fault for overloading the system, Wilder reminds him that they bought better conditions than this. However, the caretaker counterattacks by reminding Wilder that he is behind payments, so he isn't in a position to demand anything. Afterward, while Wilder is having a smoke, Robert tries to explain that it's pointless to get Royal's attention over their situation and even admits he pities the old man, which Wilder finds ridiculous. Meanwhile, Helen is stuck at home with the children, and when the news reports a prison riot, she switches the channel to prevent her kids from seeing it. At the medical school, Robert receives Monroe's medical reports revealing that he's in perfect health. However, since Robert thinks his student is too arrogant, he decides to teach him a lesson and tells him he has a brain tumor, which leaves Monroe speechless. Some days later, Wilder throws a huge party full of very loud kids as a way to protest against the building's inequality. He also thinks that the only reason someone from the middle-class floors like Robert has befriended them is to keep the lower tenants quiet. When Helen mentions that their kids were banned from the pool for being too noisy, Wilder gets furious and gathers the children to take them to the pool anyway, where they crash a party thrown by the upper class. Meanwhile, Toby and Robert share stories about their families. Robert says that he hadn't been the kind of son his father could be proud of, while Toby reveals that his birth father actually lives on the upper floors. Then Robert tries to take Toby home, but since the elevators aren't working, they decide to take the stairs. There they bump into Simmons, who calls Robert a social climber. Suddenly, the power goes out in the entire building, including